Hi, welcome to Improved Garage. So today we're going to be working on the 2024 Mini Cooper, and we're going to be installing a hard-mounted radar detector. So this is a Radenso DS1. This is the radar detector that I've used for about a year and a half now. I have two of them. One was in the Mini, the other is in the Honda. I really like it. I can't recommend this enough. It is a great radar detector and it works exceedingly well. So what I did was, for the new Mini, the 2024, is I ordered a blend mount. So if you're not familiar with Blendmount makes custom mounts that go on your mirror. And these are designed to hold radar detectors. They're designed to hold cameras, like dash cameras. So they're like a modular mount. So they're really cool, actually. They're fully adjustable. They're not the cheapest thing in the world, but they're made specifically for each car. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be installing a blend mount in a 2024 Mini John Cooper Works that has the home link buttons in the mirror. So there's a couple different styles of mirror. And we're going to be installing a Radenso DS1 radar detector. Really, this is kind of irrelevant. It's just the, it's learning what the, how the mounts work and understanding that part. There are mounts for many cars on their website. So you can put your make and model in and see what comes back. And they have, for my Mini, they have 4 different styles, depending on what mirror you have. And then they have different bottom plates for different radar detectors from different manufacturers. So the first thing we're going to do, we've got our radar detector here and we pulled off the factory mount. The factory mount looked like this. It is a magnetic mount that sticks in a suction cup on the windshield. So that comes off, it's just an Allen. In the kit there is this, which is a metal plate. So we are going to screw that into the top of the radar detector. There is like a notch that helps you to center it. So we're just going to make sure that we've got that in the right place and that that is tight. So there we are. Now, this mount is for the mirror. So it's going to mount on the mirror. If you were sitting in front of the mirror, this is what it would look like. It's going to hang on the mirror. This is the passenger side. And the radar detector itself actually goes in here like this, and it snaps into place. So it bolts to the mirror, which means that when your windshield gets hot, the suction cup isn't going to fall off. It's a more secure mount, and it just, I think, looks better. It keeps it up tighter against the mirror. It's just a nicer overall fit and finish. So we're going to, this is the mount itself, and it came fully assembled. We are going to disassemble it so that we can mount it on the mirror, and then we're going to go into the car and get it mounted. So inside the kit, they do give you an Allen wrench. There are 2 screws on the side of this like pivot. So this mounts on the mirror. This is where it pivots. And you just want to remove the top screw here like this. So we'll pull that out. Okay. And that's going to give me access to the screws that are here and make sure that I can screw this into my mirror. So it clamps around the mirror, and you'll notice that there's one screw here that kind of tightens it down, and then there's a guide screw that's in the middle. You don't really adjust that. So we're going to put this on the mirror. So the mirror's here, we're going to put it on like that, and then we're going to tighten this clamp down like that with that screw. So let's go do that. All right, so here we are in the car. You can see on the back side of the mirror that we're going to clamp this here on the stalk. So we'll put that on and we're going to tighten it down. All right, so here you can see we have it clamped onto our mirror. We don't need to tighten this too much. This is plastic, you don't want to ruin it, but you do want it to be snug. So do it like that. Now, oh, and the mount was a little in the way, so I just took the other screw out as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to screw this back in with the 2 screws that we took out, just like that. So now we can see we've got our screws just kind of started. They're not snug, they're not tight, they're just in. So what we're going to do now is we're going to attach our radar detector here so we can figure out our mounting position. As you can see, we've got a bunch of adjustability. So I can go up, I can go down, I can go back, I can go forward. So we want this to be level, and I want it to be as high and tight as possible. So just like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to tighten up the angle first on those 2 screws and just get it flat. And then we're going to lift up on the radar detector and we're going to tighten up the 2 screws that are in the back, right here where my finger is. We've got it tight. Now we can move it this way. You can see the angles there. So we're just going to make it so that it's flat and points back and forth straight out the back window like that. And then we're going to tighten up the last screw, which is right here. As you can see, it's mounted, it's nice and tight against the mirror, it's flat, it's at a good angle, it's good visibility, you can see the screen. The buttons on top are a little obstructed, but honestly, once you set this radar detector up, you don't really touch the buttons on the top. You use this to mute, or you press the button that's on the hardwire kit to mute, which I usually mount that down here. So realistically, you don't need to deal with that. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to mount the hardwire kit, and we're going to get that connected into the fuse box so that it turns on and off with the car. All right, so the second part of the blend mount is to install the wiring, the hardwire kit. So what I'm going to be using is one of these fuse taps. So basically this goes in where your normal fuse would be. If you already have a fuse in that spot, then you put that fuse in this place right here. It allows that old circuit to function and the fuse to be normal. And then you add a second fuse up here, and that fuse is this red wire that comes off of the side. So I'm on the passenger side of the car. This is a little kick panel that comes down. There's 2 T20 Torx, and this just kind of comes down and you can see the fuse box right there. So in between those 3 greens and the green and the yellow, there is an empty spot. And I'm going to be installing this fuse tap in there. So here's my fuse tap. That's what it looks like. We are going to go in here and stick that into the empty hole, just like that. And now that 5 amp fuse is going to be protecting this wire, which is right here. So we can test this with our light. You can see that it is operational. And now we will work on our hardwire kit. The hardwire kit for Radenso looks like this. There is a mute button right here. This mounts somewhere near the driver, wherever you want that to be. This is the part that plugs into the actual radar detector. There is an inline fuse right here, and there is a positive terminal and a ground. So technically, you can take this and you could stick it right into where I put that fuse adapter. I like the fuse adapters a little bit better. I think they're more secure, and you end up with less of this metal that's just kind of sticking out. So what we're going to do is we're going to route this wire, and we're going to get it down into the passenger kick panel so that we can figure out how much of this red and black we need. All right, so we've plugged our cable in. I routed it up around the edge of the plastic here. It's just kind of tucked right in there. It's not behind it. It's just tucked in like a valley that's here. And then up here, I'm behind the headliner. In order to get behind the headliner, I'm just using a plastic pry bar like this and just working my way down to this corner. All right, one very important part about all of this is in this pillar, you're gonna need to cross over from here to here. And you'll see in the pillar that there is an airbag. It's right here, it's white, it goes down the pillar. You wanna make sure that you are behind the airbag on the metal side of it. Otherwise, if this airbag inflates, that cord is either going to hold it back, get ripped off, or rip down your headliner or screw something else up. So you just wanna be behind the airbag. You can unsnap this by pulling out on it very carefully. This just kind of pulls out. It's just a press fit in there. And normally what I like to do is I get this in there and then I start to work this down behind the cable. So I'm going to work this cable down through this valley that is behind here, all the way back to here. Okay, at this point, I have worked my way down to here. This is the gap that I'm going to run this in. Now, this pillar, or this kick panel, snaps into place. There's a snap here you pull out on. And then there's a snap kind of up here where my hand is. Pull out on that. And it feels like there's a third one as well. This just snaps this direction. So if you pull this down and pull out on here, you'll see there's a ECU right there. So we're just going to kind of come up and around this like that. We're going to snap this kick panel back into place. We push this back into place. You kind of have to tuck this side, push it in, and then snap this, snap this. We're going to finish putting this back in. Just make sure this lays flat and that you don't have like any valleys or parts where there's a bunch of extra rubber. You can kind of follow this along, make sure that it's not like wavy. This is what it should look like. So we've now got that into place. So if we look at the rest of our harness, we can see here's our button, and that button has two cords coming off of it. One is the one that goes up to the radar detector, and the other is this power cord. Now, you can see where my kick panel is. There's only a little bit of this left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap tape around this, get back to the point where that kick panel is, and then cut this red and black short. All right, so we're removing this panel, which is on the side of the center console. There is a single T20 screw up in the top here that I took out. And this pulls out and unsnaps. Just like that. All right, so we stuck it underneath here so that it pops out on the other side. This side comes apart the same way the passenger side did, and I just kind of tucked it up here, and we're going to attach it underneath this piece of plastic here. We'll probably do it so you could read the word mute like that. Maybe do it like that, not exactly sure. So over here, we just have to clean up our cabling and connect our power and ground. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring this up here. We wanna steer clear of the knee airbag, which is up here. So we can start kind of snapping this stuff back together. This goes in like that. And then we will run this along top of this black plastic piece, kind of behind the duct. The knee airbag is right here above my finger. So as long as we're over this or further back, we should be good. All right, so we've snapped that side back in, and now we're kind of working over here. I think I have to put this in last, so we're gonna wait on that. So at this point, I just have a couple cables that are up here behind the airbag, and you can see they're all there. So what I'll do is I will put a zip tie around this wire loom that's right here, just to kind of keep those up and out of the way. And then over here, I've connected my red wire in my Radenso harness to my fuse tap, which is that right there. And then the other one needs to be grounded. So we're gonna look for a ground here and try to find the best place for it. So I figured out my ground situation. As you can see right here, there is a factory ground. That's what this brown is. And here is a post that is part of the chassis that is designed for ground. Now, it just so happens that I have nuts. These came from the Adam LZ Drift hardware kit, but it's just a standard 10mm nut that threads right on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to change out the eyelet on this to this one, which is a little bit larger size. And then we're going to put it on that factory ground using a washer and a second nut. And the reason I'm doing that is because if I disconnect that factory ground, there's going to be a bunch of stuff in the car that momentarily doesn't have its ground, and I don't want it to freak out. Our new ring on here, we're going to install the washer. We are going to put this ground on the existing post like that, and then we are going to put the flat nut on here, and this should give us a really solid connection. So grab a 10mm, we'll just tighten this down. If you happen to take this piece right here off, it's likely going to leave behind these clips, these gray clips here, that slot into place. So if you have one of these, that can be super useful for removing them. This is what they look like. And basically they slot into the back of this like that. So I'm just going to reinstall the 4 of those, snap this back into place, and we're going to be done here. All right, so there we are. This is back installed. I'm going to vacuum up a little bit of crap there, and there we can see our radar detector. So if we get in, press our button, we can see it turns on automatically. And then this will shut off after the car is off for 15 minutes. Note that where I connected that is a constant power source. The Radenso has the ability to detect fluctuations in voltage and automatically turn on, and then also shut itself off automatically when it is not seeing GPS movement for a certain length of time. If you have a radar detector that requires a switched power, this solution might not be exactly for you. You would have to find a switched power in the fuse box. I don't know if there is one. I didn't have to look for it. All right, so just to show what it's like, the normal, you can see that the radar detector is off. Press the button, you can see that it turns on when the BCM wakes up. So it is now currently on. Start the car, it stays on. The mount looks great. It can be adjusted just slightly so that it's pointing straight out of my back window. The cord is nice and up and out of the way. You can see it here following the gap along the side of the cap, so it's just barely visible from behind the mirror. And there's nothing here at all except for my handprints on the window that I need to clean off. So there we are. There's our time, speed, etc. And basically the way that this works is this will time out after 15 minutes of no movement. So when I get back to my house and I shut the car off, it will stay on, but after 15 minutes it shuts off, and you can actually hear it. It does like a little countdown, and then it goes to sleep. So that's pretty much it. I really like the Blendmount. I think that it looks really good, and I think it's a nice addition to any vehicle if you're looking for a solid way to mount your radar detector semi-permanently. Now, obviously, there is one downside, which is that if you were somebody who only had maybe one radar detector but multiple cars and you like to move it between vehicles, it's a lot harder to do that because the radar detector itself, well, actually, I take that back. If you put a Blendmount in all of your cars, if every car you owned was Blendmount compatible, and you had a Blendmount in every one of your cars, you could move the radar detector just as easily as you do with the suction cups. For me in the past, when I had the suction cups, I had a suction cup in this and a suction cup in the Honda, and I could just stick my arm in, grab it off of the suction cup, stick it on the window of the Honda, and the magnetic mount would just work. But realistically, the Blendmount is still quick release. You can still pull it out of it pretty easily. So I would say it's still a good fit for that. It just ends up being a little bit more expensive than obviously buying a suction cup. But there have been many times where I've come out to my car and I had the suction cup stuck to my windshield. And when I came outside, the radar detector with the suction cup attached to it were both sitting on my dash. And that's because it heats up and the air between it and the windshield expands, and it releases itself from the windshield. And that's even with my windshields being tinted and, you know, having some additional heat protection there. And depending on where you are, that may never be an issue for you, but it is for me. So that's it. Thank you for watching. I'll put links in the description, and have a great day.